Lamborghini is one of the most luxurious car brands in the world, and it was founded by Ferruccio Lamborghini. Ferruccio was a prisoner of war, but when he returned to Italy, he opened a small garage and recycled military equipment into farming tractors. This timely business decision made him a millionaire, and he went on to become the creator of the most famous luxury sports automobile, the Lamborghini. Today, we are going to share the motivational true story of how Lamborghini was started. So how did he start one of the most luxurious brands, Lamborghini? And how did a prisoner create a billion-dollar empire? Early life. Ferruccio was born in 1916 on a farm in a northern Italian village of Radazzo. His parents grew grapes to make wine for a living and raised him in their vineyards. They taught Ferruccio how to work hard and to produce high-quality goods. Ferruccio learned from their mistakes, but not in the way they had intended or anticipated. Instead of learning how to run the farm, he was more concerned with mending their tractors. Aside from being disappointed, leaving the family business was viewed as dangerous. Quitting his family business. Ferruccio nonetheless decided to pursue his interest and enrolled in the Fratelli Teddia Technical Institute to study mechanics. Ferruccio never looked back after graduating, much to his father's dismay. He began his studies under a skilled blacksmith who taught him all of his welding and ironworking techniques. However, it wasn't sufficient to win over Cavalier Righi in Bologna, which he had his sights set on. The company was then engaged in vehicle maintenance for the Italian army. Ferruccio was headstrong and obstinate, yet he persisted and persuaded the owner to hire him. He left and went back to Ranzo after he became 18 years old. Together with his lifelong friend, Mario Filippini, he started a workshop there. Years later, he would learn that it was the first step in transforming his passion into an empire. However, he would first need to get away from his captors, though. Struggling as a prisoner of war. Ferruccio was ripped from his carefree existence when the Second World War began. He was hired as a mechanic at the garrison on Rhodes Island, Greece, after being drafted by the Royal Italian Air Force. Italy gave up after 3 years, and the Italians were then driven out of the garrison by German forces. However, Ferruccio decided to stay there and requested authorization to operate his workshop. But 2 years later, the Allied forces arrived, and they took everyone in the garrisons as prisoners, including Ferruccio. They hired him to work on fixing their vehicles once they realized his technological aptitude, and then they permitted him to leave a year later. When he returned home, more tragedy struck. Celia, his wife, died while giving birth to Tonino, their only child. After that, Ferruccio kept himself occupied by working on tractors, lorries, and other pre-war automobiles in his workshop. The twist that changed his life. One day, Ferruccio received an urgent request from his father that changed the course of his life. Before we reveal the twist, please remember to subscribe to hear other motivational business success stories. I need a new tractor, Ferruccio's father requested. At that moment, Ferruccio experienced a realization. To recover from the war, Italy urgently needed to boost agricultural production, and better tools were required to make that practicable. With the knowledge gained from working with both Allied and Axis vehicles, Ferruccio purchased surplus military supplies and turned them into brand new tractors. They were constructed using an outdated British Morris engine that was converted to run on inexpensive diesel rather than pricey petroleum. They were praised as being more inventive and reasonably priced than anything previously seen. Later, Ferruccio founded Lamborghini Tractors as a new business, but he required additional money for production, even if there was a market for his tractors. So his father therefore used his land as security for a loan. Ferruccio and his father's risk paid off in more ways than they ever could have predicted, challenging Ferrari's founder. Soon after, the business grew to become one of Italy's biggest manufacturers of its sort. Ferruccio then toasted his accomplishments with delectable foods, exquisite wines, and fast cars. Even though he began to amass Jaguars, Mercedes, Maseratis, and Ferraris, none of them were fully able to satisfy him. His Ferrari 250 GT's constant clutch failure caused him a great deal of frustration. He took the Ferrari to his technician one day for maintenance, but Ferruccio found that the clutch matched the one installed on one of his tractors exactly. He did not like this because afterward, he paid Ferrari 1,000 euros for the same clutch that his tractor had used for 10 euros. One life-changing line. Ferruccio decided to inform Enzo Ferrari of the flaws he identified in his vehicles. After learning about Ferrari's shortcomings, he informed Enzo that the clutches required frequent maintenance because they were considered to be too loud and unreliable on the road. However, Ferruccio was dismissed by Enzo, who argued that he was the cause of the issue rather than the vehicle. "You're a tractor driver, a farmer. You shouldn't complain about my cars. They're the best in the world." Ferruccio's entire future was altered by this response, and that day, he returned home ready to demonstrate his abilities. Many thought his accomplishment was foolish and thought he would waste his wealth. Nevertheless, Ferruccio persisted and founded a new business in his name. He took on 3 of Ferrari's former employees and acquired a sizable piece of land on which he erected a factory. Ferruccio completed his first sports car in just 9 months, featuring his astrological sign as the emblem, the Lamborghini 350 GT. It was considered as a technical masterpiece and included a V12 engine, 5-speed transmission, 4-wheel disc brakes, and 4-wheel independent suspension. It was unveiled for the first time at the Turin Motor Show and praised by buyers and critics. Ferruccio proved to Enzo and his doubters that he wasn't just a farmer, but also a mechanical genius, capable of building superior and outstanding cars. It was a sophisticated car that had a lot of class and was comfortable to run. Beginning of a successful streak. Over the next few years, Ferruccio's tractor and sports car business flourished. Ferruccio encouraged experimentation among his engineers when it came to creating new models. Due to his management style, his team was able to complete the 400 GT and a covert project called the Miura P400. It was the first vehicle ever produced with a rear mid-engine configuration and was designed as a street racer. Ferruccio was not informed since he was opposed to the idea of creating race cars. He participated in a major race a number of years prior and collided with the side of a restaurant. Ferruccio opted to abandon the plan after learning the truth. It ended up being one of his wisest choices ever. The rear mid-engine configuration of the Miura, the first supercar in history, set the norm for all high-performance vehicles. From that point on, Lamborghini Tirani kept up its winning run and unveiled several well-known models, including the Espada, Islero, Jurama, Uraco, and Countach. Since they didn't use anyone else's parts, they were thought to be superior to other sports vehicles, and the Countach was allegedly the subject of the most historical auto literature. Series of mishaps. Unfortunately, a string of uncontrollable events caused Ferruccio's prosperity to end abruptly. Following a coup, a deal to deliver 5,000 tractors to Bolivia was cancelled. Ferruccio was obligated to sell his tractor company and 51% of his Lamborghini stock as a result of the loss. Later, there was a severe collapse in the stock market around the world, and OPEC imposed an oil embargo. It brought an increase in fuel prices and threw the automotive sector into crisis. Ferruccio made an effort to maintain his businesses and was successful in finding purchasers for his unsold tractors. But he made the decision to leave his position at Automobili Lamborghini early and sold the remaining 49% of his stock. But he did keep a heating company that he owned, and he gave it to his son, Tonio. Later, Tonio pivoted toward building a successful fashion and luxury business under the family name. The brand's rebirth was unsuccessfully attempted by Automobili Lamborghini, new owners at this time, and the business was subsequently driven into liquidation. A few years later, it was sold by the Italian government to 2 French billionaires for $3 million. They intended to engage fresh engineers and remodel the outdated Lamborghini facilities, but they ran out of money and gave Chrysler the business. Chrysler attempted to bring the brand to the United States, but was unable to turn a profit, and they consequently sold the business to a corporation in Indonesia. Even though they had more success with sales, it wasn't enough to survive the Asian financial crisis. Meanwhile, the new owners of Automobili Lamborghini tried to revive its brand, but failed. Succeeded to take its status back. It was then Audi which acquired the business at that point, after realizing the importance of paying more attention to procedures and product quality. Under their direction, Lamborghini was able to satisfy the demands of the 21st century and reclaim its position in the industry. Sales of the Gallardo, Huracan, and Urus SUV concepts increased globally, but mainly in the United States. Lamborghini made a record sale in 2019 and has a current market value of $11 billion. This is the motivational story of how a farmer and prisoner of war turned his tractor business into a sports car empire. For more inspiring stories and guidance from today's most flourishing leaders, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.